Hello, Dental Team listeners. This is Kiera, and today I am so excited. I have an incredible doctor on our podcast. Dr. Pia is coming to us from New York, Manhattan, and this woman is incredible. She has been able to build and sustain a high-end cosmetic practice. She's figured out how to be, you guys are going to love this, a referral-only destination for patients seeking discretion, innovation, and ultra-personalized care. This woman has been named the Michelangelo of dentistry, and I am so excited to welcome her on the podcast. Welcome, Dr. Pia. How are you today?
Hi, thanks for having me, Kiera.
Of course. Well, I have been so excited about this podcast. I don't often get to bring clinical guests onto the podcast. And so to just kind of hear of how you do your cosmetic dentistry, how did you become this practice of being so sought after? How did you become the Michelangelo of dentistry? So kind of just walk the listeners through how did Dr. Pia go from where she was to where she is today? Kind of just give us a background on who you are and what your story has been.
All right, well, I'm going to start with it all started in dental school. There was a lecturer by the name of Dr. Gallup Evans who has passed away since. And he was giving a PG, which is obviously post doctoral course on cosmetic dentistry. And his reputation was he was the one who did the supermodel Paulina Povaskova's veneers back in the early 90s. And I went up to him after the lecture and I basically said, I'm a sponge, teach me, tell me what to do so I can do the same thing that you're doing. I've completely fell in love and cut out of class to go to that course. And after the course, he turned around to me and said, well, sweetheart, you're either born with it or you're not. So I went home and I cried for 5 days. And he
Absolutely.
completely tore me to shreds. And that really got me upset. And I was a great student. I was the youngest in NYU as a student. I graduated high school at 16. I was the nerd, right? And basically what I did is I was asked to start teaching after residency. And that was my way to make sure that I would never allow anyone to speak to a student like that. And my whole point was I want to empower the dental students. I don't want
Mhm.
anyone to feel the way I did by this particular person. And basically, I had nowhere to start. So I started taking all of these courses, these PG program courses, and I met up when I was actually in dental school. I went and I met the holy grail ceramist who invented veneers in America. And I went up to him and I said the same thing. I'm a sponge. Please teach me. And he was like, oh, great. Okay. Do you have a car? And I'm like, yes, I do. He goes, all right, come to the lab every Friday after school and every Saturday. Let me teach you how to prep and how to do veneers. And this man who also passed away has taught me everything that I know because the doctors were not doing it. And there was
Wow.
only two guys in New York that were doing veneers in the 80s and in the 90s. And those were older men in their 40s, and they were not going to take a young 20-year-old female and teach her what to do because they were, insecure that we were going to take over the business from them. So that's
Right.
how it all started. And obviously I taught for 18 years and I did do that, what I set my mind to do. I wanted to give every one of my students the best experience that they can have with dentistry and with cosmetic dentistry. And we're still friends after all these years. So I must have done something right that they still love me to invite me for dinners into their houses.
Oh, I think that you're speaking to my own heart. I mean, having that love of being in the dental colleges, of wanting to give back, like that's the whole reason Dental A Team exists was because of those students that you just fall in love with. And kudos to you because I got really lucky and I worked at Midwestern University's dental college in Arizona. And I have been told that the culture there and the experience there is not like most dental schools. It was a very empowering, very enriching. There was no smashing of models. There was no destroying people's dreams. But I know that that's not everywhere. And so kudos to you for making a stance and also not giving up on your dream. And I think something I took from that is how often are we maybe told something that's not true and we believe it. We take that on as an identity. And yes, crying for 5 days. I don't blame you. I would have done the same thing, but
No,
uh,
it's demoralizing,
it
like
is.
it's just here you are, you're this young, bright eye and bushy tail, eager beaver who wants to be the best at her profession, and then you get some 50-year-old man telling you, "Oh, honey, you can't do this. You got to be born
Mhm.
with it." I'm like, "Really?"
Maybe I am born with it, and have you seen it?
And you know what?
So,
I was, and that's
right.
the thing. And it's just, but it's the way he said it. But we'll get back to karma because 18 years go by and he was lecturing again.
Mm.
And karma, it hits us all. I don't want to say the B word on a podcast, but it is. So he's got the lecture, same thing, same before and afters. And this time I'm wearing a white lab coat and scrubs underneath. And I had, and at this point I was clinical assistant professor, and there were like 350 doctors in the audience. And he's like, "Does anyone have anything to say?" And I'm at the back wall. I wasn't sitting down, I was standing up, and I raised my hand and I was like, yep. And he goes, "Name." And he goes, "Oh, I know that name. You're in press and you're my competition." And he was like, "And, what is it that," and I said, "You know what? Thanks to you, I am who I am today. I want to say thank you. If you didn't say this to me and make me go home and cry for 5 days, I wouldn't have done everything humanly possible to be your competition. And here I am." I didn't know if he was going to slap me or kick me out or just whatever it was, but it was not what and he said, "Come on down and just tell us more about it." He goes, "You've got so much press. You're all over the place." And it was funny because at that point, that was like maybe 10 months after I did 10 episodes on TLC of 10 years younger. And
Wow.
I was all over the place. Like everybody knew me from TV and from press, and the New York Times wrote, that I'm the Michelangelo and Smile Boutique, and it just got to that point. I got the recognition that I worked so
Mhm.
hard for, and he was like, "All right, give me a hug," and I was like, "Oh, phew, thank God, I'm not going to get a slap." But I was ready to get like thrown out or to. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. Is I just want to empower every single person out there. And you have to understand, when I went to school, there were no women. It was
Right.
97% men. We had maybe 7 girls in the graduating class. I mean, not that we had a lot. We had much smaller classes back then, and we were 97. But 7 out of 97 is a low
That
percentage.
is. Yeah. Wow, that's such a fun I think kudos to you. And one of my favorite lines through life has been life is not happening to us, it's happening for us. And I'm sure in that moment you felt like life was happening to you. Like, who is this jerk? And they destroyed my dreams. And yet, again, not to say that that's ever the right route to go, but I just want to highlight and compliment of you took something that people could have said would be sour grapes and you actually turned it into beautiful wine and you turned it into something beautiful and it was fuel to your fire to make you into this incredible woman that the world needed. And so I'm very curious, how did you then go from, okay, here we are, how did you become this renowned cosmetic dentist, getting on TLC, getting all the press? Like, what was kind of the way to get into that? Because I'm sure
I
there's a lot
think
of dentists
the
who want to live your dream. How did
I
you do
think the
it?
way in was truly like in 1998 or 99. I don't remember what year it was, but it was the first Gen Art fashion show for Fashion Week in New York, where they took up and coming young designers, and they had a private fashion show with about 10 of small up and coming, which we don't have anymore. I mean, New York Fashion Week is no longer what it used to be. But I go there, and I had a patient from Belgium who had a really good friend who was an up and coming crazy French designer. And he was showing the runway, and I just basically went with her. And I remember that we were after the fashion show, there was a VIP with champagne, and we got these wristbands and so forth. And my my patient was, late 30s, single and ready to mingle. And there was this really cute male model that did the runway for another designer that wasn't as big. And she was like, oh my God, he's so cute. And here I was, I had no makeup on, right? I'm wearing this long Margiela dress and I had like Doc Marten boots, my hair up in a ponytail, just like mascara and red lips on. And I went up to this guy and I said, hi, I'm Dr. Pia. My friend Jacqueline wants to meet you. And he had this woman who was next to him, and she was like, you got to talk to me. I'm his booker. And I didn't know what a booker was. So I'm like, what's a booker? I thought it was like betting on horses, like a
Yeah.
bookie, that's what I thought. And basically, I was like, no, 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 I'm just, we're going behind. If you guys want to come and join us at the after party behind. And he was like, great. She goes, no, 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 we can't go anywhere. You got to go through me. And I'm like, okay. I said, look, I'm a cosmetic dentist. And back then we had cards, right? So I was like, here's my card. She goes, I want one too. And yeah, that was it. We had some drinks afterwards, and she was like, yeah, I want to come in as a patient. I have to come in first before he comes in because he said he needed his teeth done, veneers. And I was like, okay. So the next morning, I'm like livid. At like 9 o'clock, I call Wilhelmina, who was like back then the number one modeling agency for men. And I call and I'm like, can I speak to Jennifer? And she picks up the phone. I'm like, hi, it's Dr. Pia again. I'm like, I just want to make it really clear. I'm married. I am not picking up on your male
Mhm.
model. It was my friend who was interested, just putting it out there and being totally transparent. So she's like, fine, I want an appointment. So I booked her. And the moment that I booked
Mhm.
her, she introduced me to the modeling industry. So then I started getting all the models, the supermodels. I got everybody in. And I think that's how it all started with the press and everything because they've seen my work with the modeling industry. And that's how kind of it all started. And the thing with me, it's always been privacy. I've never named names. I will never name
Mhm.
names because it's like plastic surgery. If you're going to go in and get a facelift, do you want it to be plastered all over the
Right.
press? I don't think so. So it's the same thing with veneers. I mean, I do very natural handmade porcelain, and the whole secret to, I think, to my success is I've never gone into that chiclety white Hollywood smile, the toilet bowl teeth or
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
turkey teeth, as now they all go to Turkey to have them done. I've never done that. So for me, I've always followed what I believe in and did the best that I can. And I think that that is, as long as you love what you do and try to be the best that you can be, I think the universe, no matter what God you believe in, I think the universe gives it back to you.
I think, well, and also what I heard from that is kudos to you for just going and meeting people and for being out there. Like, I don't think people realize the power of connections, the power of human interaction, the power of who you know. I think we're in such a society where it's all online and we just think, which you can still connect online, but like, don't be afraid to say hi to people. Don't be afraid to introduce yourselves. And like I said at the beginning, Dr. Pia, it's very rare that I bring on clinical guests to the podcast. So I'm curious. You work on supermodels, you work on really incredible people. I have a doctor, which we will not name names either, who works on movie stars in LA. And so I have a couple questions. And if you don't want to
I
answer,
probably
by all,
know him.
you probably do. We'll chat post
If
show.
it's, we'll do it off.
Exactly, off call. But I'm curious, Dr. Pia, just for listeners to know, what is like, I'm going to ask a few questions. And like I said, privacy and respect are my number one. So if there's something that you're like, I'm not going to answer, by all means, audience, just know Dr. Pia is so kind to come onto the podcast for us. And I did not prep her because I never know what I'm going to ask. It's just a genuine, curious host over here wanting to know what are the average cases, like dollar wise, our low end to our high end of cases that you're doing. I just want people to know because I think people do not believe that this is real life dentistry and it can be.
Um, you're talking about veneers or you're talking about all the procedures?
I would say let's
Veneers.
do veneers and then let's
Veneers
do
are
other procedures.
from 3 to 4,500 per
Perfect.
tooth. It depends. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
someone is a massive grinder and I've got, issues with them having, doing the grinding at night, felspathic, I'm a little bit weary of doing that, and I'll do the
Totally.
3D printed. As much as I'm not the greatest fan of doing that, I would rather keep them in a night guard and let
Mm-hmm.
them have the beautiful teeth. But it basically is, for the handmade porcelain, I mean, there are some people out there that are charging over five, and I think
Totally.
that's just a little bit exaggerated because I know how much it costs me to make. I think
Sure.
4,500 is a fair price. You don't have to go above five. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
just being greedy.
And which I appreciate that you say that, especially with the press and with the people that you worked on. You have an opportunity to charge more, but you're also being ethical and fair, which I think ties to the passion, the love, the reason people can trust you. So, how many veneers? This is like now I'm going to just be like a nerdy patient.
All right, come
How many?
on, bring it on.
Because I feel like a lot of people just want like the four veneers and then the six, and then do you just do all of them? Is there a
No,
space where clinically you recommend like we stop here for smile lines?
no, not
What's
at
kind of
all.
your what's your clinical excellence on this? What do you recommend?
I think you should have either one or as many as you need. I think the biggest problem and
Oh, I'm ready. She got fired up,
yes.
everybody. Juicy's
Okay,
like
now
sits
you
up.
got me. Okay. So my competition
Hmm.
in New York will only do 10. And he's my former student, which is even more infuriating to me. Like, I so disagree because I think if you have a beautiful smile and let's say you fell and you had a root canal and the tooth is starting to change color, I think if you're a good clinician, and
Hmm.
a good clinician is a cosmetic dentist. I don't believe a GP could do this. Okay.
Sure.
And men, we have the issue with 40% are colorblind. So that's another issue altogether.
I do remember there was a girl in dental school who couldn't like really see, and I was like, how do you like she couldn't see colors, and I'm like, how do you get over that as a dentist? I'm just curious. Like
Well,
I
they get
like
the dental assistant to choose the color.
check the colors, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so making sure you think that you can do one if you're a
Oh,
good
I do
dermatologist.
one. I do
I
one.
love this
So
because
I
people tell me
do
all the time you
one.
can't do one.
I do one. I'll do two if you ground. I do four. I'll do six. I'll do 10. I'll do 12. If the person has a really big smile and it's a color correction, like a tetracycline case, then I have to do 12, like,
Sure.
because it depends. If you're someone that has this uber large mouth, then, and when you smile, you go back to the second molars, you have to do it. But I feel that this whole entire doing 10 or nothing, I think that is so unfair to the patients. And I think it's such bad karma as well because it's going to come back and bite you later on. Because I don't feel that everyone has to have that many done. And the other thing that I'm actually known for is the fact that I don't believe that you have to necessarily file the tooth down. If the
I
teeth
love
are in the correct position, okay, let's back it up. If the teeth are not in the correct position, do Invisalign first and then do the handcrafted veneers because the way I do them, they're as thin as a contact lens. So
hmm
there is no drilling needed. Anytime, why I wouldn't want anyone to drill my teeth to put veneers on. Why are you taking away to add on? It's an oxymoron, right?
hmm
So
hmm
if you are a true cosmetic dentist and know how to do this and have the right support of the right ceramist, they should be see-through.
hmm Yeah.
So if that's the case, there's no drilling involved. And if you need only one, just do one. There's no
Incredible.
reason to spend that money on doing more if you don't need them.
Which I'm so grateful to hear. This is why I was so excited. I'm like, I have so many questions about this, and I'm just curious of how you do it. And to hear that being really talented at this, you don't need to do more than that because I hear all the time, like, well, if you only do four, then you're going to see it. but I don't
You're
disagree with
not.
you. I think if you're good at what you, and this isn't just dentists. I also think dentists, well, I'm going to go out on a limb. Now I'm fired up to be
No,
for
no, they
dentists.
want the money. It's clear as day. It's they're doing
Right.
it for the money.
Well, and also I'm like, if you're not good enough to be able to do one without it looking like a chiclet, I might question, are you good enough to be doing this in general? And that I know is a very bold statement, but I'm
No,
like,
they
get
should
really
not
good
be
at
doing
this.
them. I'm
I don't
sorry, they should
disagree.
not be doing it. And with felspathic, with the handmade porcelain, it I can't say it enough. One is not a problem.
Okay, let's talk about different labs and how do you choose a good lab for cosmetic cases? Like, what's the difference? I mean, I've heard some people that are printing Emax crowns for the front, and I want to like cringe, and I'm like,
No,
oh,
no, no, no. I didn't.
that feels really bad. So let's talk about like how do you pick a good lab? What's the difference of a good lab? How is it handmade versus not? Like, what are some of those nuances within the cosmetic world that really make a difference on being able to do one versus having to do 8 to 10 because you're going to see lines and it's going to look different.
Okay, so I'm a nerd. I'm going to give you the whole
I
entire
love it.
background.
I
Okay.
want this.
Okay, so basically, the handmade porcelain is felspathic and it can be as thin as 0.16 of a millimeter, which is technically a contact lens. Okay.
Mhm.
It's thinner than your natural fingernail, not with gel on it or powder, polish. I'm talking about a natural fingernail. So, having said that, now in the way that those are made, they're done on platinum foil. So, you take the model of the teeth, they put platinum foil, which is also like super, super thin microns. It's, anywhere between 10 microns, 20 microns. Okay. And then on that porcelain, on that platinum foil, the porcelain, multiple colors, multiple translucencies get added on, and that's how the veneer is made. Okay, so
Mhm.
that's how we're able to have them super thin. The 3D printing, different story altogether.
Yeah.
So 3D printing needs to have minimum between 1.5 to 2 millimeters of thickness. So those
Right.
right there are thick. Okay,
Mhm.
so that's why you need to file. Otherwise, everything is going to be out.
Mhm.
That's why they need to do 10 because they can't match the flatness of a natural tooth. So those are done by a computer. So what you do is you scan with the feldspathic. You still have to take good old fashioned impressions because the model has to be poured in stone. It cannot be on plastic to do the platinum foil. With the
Interesting.
3D printing, with the 3D printing veneers and crowns, you basically just scan the tooth, send it via, the cloud. It gets to the lab, they print out the model, and then they start designing the shape and the size of what they want the veneer or the crown to look like. And then they have this block, which is like about this big. And it's like a disc. It's like an oversized hockey puck.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay. And out of those, they usually get, out of those hockey pucks, usually they get 25 crowns and 25 veneers, like either or. Okay.
Sure. Okay.
Now, those blocks, you have to understand, they come in one solid color and very opaque, hence why they look like toilet bowls. Like you can see, like Simon from what is it, the show with America's Got Talent, right?
Mhm.
Now his teeth walk in before him. They're so
It's
white and
true.
chalky. He had them done, and they're too big. Personally, I mean, I think he's too horsey. He should have stayed with the veneers he had before, because they
Yeah.
looked more natural. But that's the problem. If you have the 3D printed, the opacity is one solid, you know, base that the computer then drills that hockey puck to form the crowns and the veneers. So you're never going to get the aesthetics of having incisal translucency or
Right.
having a halo or having them nice and flat. You're not, because the computer is going to make them the thickness that they cannot drill those any thinner than that because they're going to break.
So this is fascinating, and I love this because now I have more questions. like being an assistant, also having worked in this, also having gone to labs, also having like things done for family and friends that I know. Are you a fan of custom shading where you send your patients to the lab,
Hell
or
no.
how? Okay, so how do you get it to where it's like a perfect shade match, like consistently? Any tips that you have to make it to where it is really that absolutely perfect, making your smiles beyond perfect without sending them to a lab? Because I think a lot of people hold back and they're like, well, I've got to send it. But I've seen a lot of dentists where they'll try to put the shading in, they try to put the translucency, and this is no knock on dentists. This is like, hey, we've got an expert here. Let's ask how she does it so we can all rise up.
Okay, I honestly, I take the patient to the window. My whole main thing is every single office that I've built, I need to have windows that are 5 feet tall
Mm,
and sunlight.
fascinating.
So I'm able just to move the patient to the window, and that's where the talent comes in. I'm able to take shade without a shade guide. I mean, I'm at that
Mm,
point, but I've been doing this for decades now. So it's like at the beginning, I wasn't so. I would do the shade guide and I would write it on a piece of paper and just be like, okay, the neck is an A2, and then we have an A1 body, and then we have translucency of 2 millimeters and a halo, and I just draw it. And then they would make every single veneer with the same recipe. It's
I
almost like
see.
cooking.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm.
But the window and natural sunlight is the key. Because all
Right.
these computers that you put up against your tooth, all due respect,
They shade it differently.
it's
It's
not only that. You have to understand everybody's tooth is a different length. Okay, like
mm-hmm.
your centrals are fairly long for the average person,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That particular shade guide is not going to read color
Yeah.
on your tooth that you probably have 12 millimeter long centrals, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
diagnosing you over the video,
Hey,
right?
thank you. Yeah.
So that particular light source is not going to be able to read 12 millimeters perfectly from the gum line to the incisal. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
You're going to need, and if you're not good at taking shade, go do endo or oral surgery or ortho.
It's true. Cosmetic is about, I feel it's about the precision, it's about the aesthetics. And like, I mean, I hire a designer to do my house. I'm not going to do it. I know that that is not my forte. I'm really good at other things, but I'm not good at color matching and what goes well together and how to put this together. It's just not my strength and skill set. And I really do believe, like, this is what I think, going back to your original professor, speaker, lecturer who completely dashed your dreams. I think maybe possibly what he meant was, I think there's some people who have a natural eye for cosmetic and aesthetics, and there's other people who maybe don't. And I think you can adapt it and evolve it and become, and you have clearly proven that. But my guess is, I mean, hearing that you're even on Fashion Week, my hunch is you already by default had a very strong fashion aesthetic. Maybe you didn't, but I would guess that that kind of
No,
has
I
been a
did. I
part of
did.
you.
And, I do like my own makeup and I know my colors
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And so that helped. I have to say, that really did help me quite a bit.
Which is why you
But,
were drawn to this. You had the passion, the fire, because you already knew that.
and I loved it. And I was like, how can I? And then what the other thing is, like, you may not know you have it. So the other thing, what I say is buy some art books. That's what I did. Buy some
Mm-hmm.
art books. Get to learn the difference between chrome, the chroma, and the hue, and just take a couple of art classes and see if you have it. And if not, what can you pick up and learn from those art classes if you really want to do it? And
Yeah,
I'm not trying to be sexist by any means, but I do think that women are better at it because of
I agree.
color. And I think we're a lot more patient because the
Mm-hmm.
way I do it is I do diagnostic wax ups on every case, whether it's one tooth, unless it's even with the prepless veneers where I don't touch the tooth, I still do the wax ups to see. Um, I've had let me backtrack a little bit, but I've had every single 2D program in the last, 16 years that
Wow.
they've been out, more than 16 years. Okay. And it's not the same when you see yourself in a photo with the size and shape and color that you might want. Okay,
I agree.
it's like using the apps to change your hair color. I'm
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
of the strongest belief. that if you do want to change your hair color, I think you should try on a wig and wear it for a couple of days.
Yeah,
So
I
that
don't
that
disagree.
whole entire philosophy that I have, what I do is I do the diagnostic wax ups, I do the indexes, and without drilling the teeth, the patients come in and I pop it over their teeth, with the Luxatemp, the temporary
Yep.
material that sets over it. And I tell them to walk out with it.
Hmm.
And it's not bonded on or anything. They can just take their fingernail and just pop it all off. But go out, let your family see it, let your partner see it, see how you feel. Is it too long? Is it too square? Is it too round? I'm allowed to have my opinion, but you're paying me. And if your opinion is different than mine, you should have the right as a patient to get what you want, not what I want.
Hmm.
We
And
have
I'm
to
glad
come somewhere in between sometimes. Like I'll put my foot down and I'll be like, you really don't want them that white.
you're right. We don't want them to make a statement before you walk in the room. That's what we're going to just highlight here. But hey, if you want white, white, like at the end of the day, that's what they're going to have. But I love that I think this is probably what's made you really great. I don't know. I've heard a lot about you. But I think what you do is you make sure that the patients are obsessed with the results and not that Dr. Pia is obsessed. Like you're obsessed with the craftsmanship of what you've done. You're really talented at that. But like hearing that you let people walk out and go try these on and what is it going to be like before you do it, that to me says that you are so obsessed about the outcome and the result for the patient. And then your job is to make sure you have the most excellent craftsmanship, the best product, the best techniques, the best method to get them the outcome they want. And I think hearing that, I'm just so proud of you. And I'm so grateful to hear that there are clinicians in our industry that are obsessed about that rather than the reverse. Because I think some people are obsessed about maybe the dollar, maybe about doing these types of cases, but they're not the best at it, or this is what I think that they should look like. You really want to make sure that that patient is like a walking, raving fan of you before you even do the work on them. And that I think is very special about you. And that wraps part one of our part two series. Be sure to tune back in for part two of this podcast. And as always, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time on the Dental Team Podcast.